Okay, we're live. This is the LUKE-N-SHAE'S place. We're live right now. We're about to do something exciting. We're going to go ahead and let Shay introduce the topic of the night. Go right ahead, Shay.
Okay, so the topic, because you're, it's not posted up there. Hello, everyone. Welcome to LUKE-N-SHAE'S place. And the topic is because I thought you were
Why
supposed.
why do some people cringe at others dating outside of their race? That's up at
You
the
said
top.
what now, Luke? You gotta lighten your voice up. It's too deep. I can't hear you.
Why do some people cringe at the others dating outside of their race?
Okay, got it. Why do people cringe at others dating outside their race? Awesome. Yeah.
So before we start the show, we would like for you to like, subscribe, and share. We definitely need your love and we need your support. We're a new podcast and we need everything we can get here. Um, like I said, let's get on to the show.
All right,
Question
let's.
is again, why do some people cringe at others dating outside their race?
Yeah, that's a
Why
good.
do so many people have trouble with that?
Yeah, that's a touchy one. That's. Mm, you want to start or you want me to start? Because that one, wow, that's a. Just thinking about that being something that has been ongoing over the years. Because as the years go on, you see more and more people dating outside of their race. But behind the scenes, yes, you have people that don't really agree with that. That's not always not everybody's accepting of that, dating outside of race, outside of your race. They're not really, and I don't know. That's for me personally. I don't. If you don't know, I feel like you don't know where your soulmate's gonna be. I just that's just me. Your soulmate could be another race, and then if you limit yourself, and again, that's somebody's preference, you might miss out.
Okay. But you don't feel like, due to the history between people and just the history between people, that placates a lot of why people feel certain ways within the confines of those type of relationships.
Yeah, I believe that has a lot to do with it. But when we say outside of our race, there's different races. So I mean, usually when that's a thing, I don't think it's more so the majority of races. I believe that most people, if they do cringe, it's I don't know, I could be wrong, but it's usually when it's a white person and a black person that is in a relationship that people kind of cringe at.
Hmm.
So
But that's what I'm
yeah, for
saying. Based
myself,
off of
like I said, for myself, I just feel like that's where you made a connection at, then so be it. Everybody has their preference. I
mm,
mean, who are we to judge love? Somebody, if that's where they're finding love at, then if
but
that
see that,
person's treating them right, then I don't see what the big issue is, honestly.
well, like I said, is more of a thing where people have had a history and the history that comes behind dating outside the race. That's where it always was an issue because at one point in time in America, it wasn't cool to date a certain race. And although we have moved past it today, the ghosts of the past still linger on within the same confine. I can understand you saying, okay, find love where you find it, but you have to ask that question because there's a difference between people, and so that's one of the things. And without being any type of what we call a racist or any of those type of things, you're going to have issues because again, we had a history of something, and if we didn't have that history, we would probably be more open to it. But today we have more interracial marriages and couples today
Mhm.
because it's kind of been okayed by our society today. So it
Mm-hmm.
looks a little different. And you have so many children now, which are mixed outside of, the whole thing as well. But
Biracial.
at the same time, it still bothers certain people when they see it. This is how that works. And that's just the reality of all of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so again, like I said, it's just you deal with a lot of different things that come along with it. I don't care who you get with. Like I said, I don't care how you date and who you
That's
date.
how
Ain't
I
none of
feel.
my
That's what
business.
I feel
What you
too.
do in the confines of your bedroom is your business. And if you like it, I love it. That's how I look at things. But at the same time, I think we have a history. The history is what has really convoluted this whole thing because of the way things went. So yeah, you're gonna always have it because see, I don't think that's ever going. I don't think racism in itself, or just our differences, will ever be gone forever. And so that's just how it is, and then it's according to how you want to look at it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think
But
I can agree with that too. It doesn't seem like it's going anywhere. With each generation, I feel like it has gotten better, and it's still here. It's more hidden today. I can't speak on, I could just go by
yeah, because people are
movies and
more open.
videos that I've seen. My family members, my older family members, they, some of them still living, that were around here in the time where there was segregation and different things going on. So, I can't really speak on that because that's not where I was brought up in that time frame. But just knowing history, a lot of those people are gone, but you also have to understand they raise children that, so whatever, we're experiencing things that, okay, that could have been how that child was raised, and then they grow up and the cycle repeats itself. But it's more hushed now. It's hushed now, but when it comes to interracial relationships or people dating or marrying outside of their race, that's still something that some people have a tough time dealing with.
Well, yeah, like I said, I can recall. Like I said, for one thing, again, it's the history. We're not that far removed from it, so
Hmm.
that's the other side of
Yeah,
it.
that's
See,
not
because
that many years ago, actually,
in,
if you really
in
think
my
about it.
in my own lifetime. See, we're not that far removed from it. So yeah, I think people are more open to it because we're a lot more open to a lot of things today than we were in past decades and past times. But at the same time, I think, well, like I said, a lot of people haven't gotten past that because some of the people that actually went through that are still here today. So, like I said,
Yeah.
it's according when you were born and where you were. So, yeah. So, I think with that being said, I mean, you have dated men outside your race, but have you ever encountered the parents of the men you dated outside your race? See, those
Um.
were the people that
So
came
yeah,
from a history of that.
yeah. So before I touch on that, I just wanted to rewind real quick. When you say, okay, there's a difference. Now, when you say there's a difference, because when you were saying, hey, yeah, there's a difference. Now, what are you saying? People view that there's a difference, or there's a difference between the people?
Being again, like I said, when you're dating outside your race, you feel a difference because there is a difference. That's just the reality of all of it. I mean, you can pretend like it's not, but it's going to be a difference. Everybody has their own mindsets on how things supposed to run, but at the
Mm-hmm.
same time, again, you're going to feel that there's a difference because you worry with the issue of us having a different point of view on different things and what
Okay.
can be said out of those things.
Now,
So that's what we have a history of that. And
and
since
you're
we
saying
have a
there.
history of it,
Mm-hmm. So
you're
you're
going to
saying
have a feeling.
there's a feeling. So, and have you ever dated outside of your race?
No.
So that what you just
Well,
gave,
I
where is
have,
that
but
coming
not
from? That there's a difference, like,
where there's a difference. Okay.
yeah, because you
Well,
said there's a difference, there's a feeling, and if you haven't dated outside of your race,
mhm.
I'm trying to understand how you would say there's a difference if you never dated outside of your
because
race.
you don't have to date outside your race to understand the differences because we have a history. The history is the difference. That's why we have a history. There were certain things that went on. Okay, you got people. We can talk about Emmett Till. I don't have to be a part of that. See what I'm saying? So
Hmm.
there's always going to be a difference because we have had things happen to certain people over dating outside the race. We once read on the story about the young man in Florida who sent the girl a Christmas card.
Yeah.
So as
So
long as you have
that
those
race.
type of things happening, you're going to have a
Mhm.
difference. I don't have to date to understand that there's a
So
difference.
yeah, there's a
And
difference
most of the time you
there.
encounter the parent, okay, because the parent grew up in a different time. And I mean, they might be more understanding of it today, but at the same time, there's going to be a difference. You'll feel it. You're going
Okay.
to feel it because it's a history of it.
So I'm just
Like I
saying,
said, so
for somebody who
when
has
you and
dated outside of their race. So, and I get it with the Emmett Till, and you mentioned the young gentleman in Florida who sent the Christmas letter. I remember that story, and that was sad. But they weren't dating them females, and yes, that was a different time in our history. That was a time where, yeah, that was kind of like you couldn't even look at a certain person, and that's
hmm
perceived in a way where that could have gotten you basically your lights out here. You might have lost your life over just the way you looked at someone. But as in a relationship, we're talking about in a relationship today, this time and age. Yes, I know history plays a part in that. History does play a part in that. But if you have two people that love each other and they find that they work together well, and they don't see each other's color as an issue to become a union or to date. So for you to say that there's a feeling, it should be a feeling of love. I mean, having been someone, because I know you asked me if there was, if I experienced something with parents when I dated outside of my race years ago. Yeah, there was a difference, but I can't really say that there's a difference because that same okay, because I've been in yeah, my long-term relationship in an interracial relationship years ago. At first, what I can say about that though, the parent was standoffish. Actually turned my boyfriend at the time, turned his things in. He had his spare keys, and we were actually taking break together. His father walked up and banged on the window, and he gave him an envelope, basically disowning him. Yeah, that was hurtful because that was hurtful. But fast forward, years later, it took a while. Years later, that same man was changing my oil. He was like, make sure her oil needs to be changed. He knocked on my door one day. He came and visited, and it became a relationship. He was actually doing things. I got sick one time, and my boyfriend couldn't take me to the doctor's appointments. His father would come and take me to it. So he came around. So I can't really say
hmm
parents, because I did experience that with his father at first. But in the same breath, I experienced that with an African American parent. So I can't say it's a race thing. Parents are set in their ways. And yes, his father was, older gentleman. And yes, it was because of my race. But I've also experienced that in a relationship with a black man and his parents treating me like I was, contagious in the same place with them. And it's been years and they still haven't come around. So I can't really say that, if I'm experiencing it from my own people, I'm not going to sit here and say that just being in an interracial relationship is going to cause
but see,
that kind of feeling. You can get that from your
I
own
think
people, is what I'm saying.
you can, but no, you won't get it the same thing because it's not the same. I hear what you're saying,
Okay,
but
well,
that's not the
it
same.
felt harsh coming from my own people,
That's
actually.
entirely different. But that's entirely different because see, if a person has a preference as to the type of woman he wanted his child to marry,
I
that's entirely
understand that
different.
to the fullest, but
Okay?
when we
But
talk
because
about being
that
treated
came
a
with a
certain way from a
that
parent,
comes with
you can get that from any race. That has nothing to do with the color of your skin. You can get that from your own people that's gonna walk around the room like you're gonna, oh wow, so let me, oh, wow, so
Well,
that's what I'm saying. I experienced
you can
that.
get you can get mistreatment from anybody, but what we're talking
Exactly.
about is based off of your race.
Hmm.
When you're talking about if I'm dealing with a person right now, if I had a, a, a um a black girlfriend, say that,
Okay.
and her parents just don't like me, that's entirely
Hmm.
different. The parent don't like me for whatever reason. They
Never
don't
had a
like me. It's
conversation with
not
me,
because of my
but
color.
yeah. Hmm.
That's not
So
because of my
with
color.
that being
It's
said, there was
because
a
I'm.
different. Oh, go ahead. Sorry. What'd you say?
No, go
You're
ahead. You go ahead.
delaying.
You got it.
I
No,
didn't
go
hear you.
ahead.
It was
You got it.
delay. I thought you were done.
No, go
I
ahead.
know what I
I'm
was
saying
saying.
go
There
ahead.
was a difference. There was a difference with that whole thing, and because my white boyfriend at the time, we were together for
Hmm.
11 years actually. His father came around within, what I would say, within the first, what, year. So because he came around, grace is given. I mean, there's still grace given to the other parents, but I have to give grace where it's due, because he, whatever worked out in him to where he knocked on our door
Hmm.
and started to visit, started to change my oil just like I was a daughter-in-law or whatever. He treated me with, well, he was
Hmm.
baking me loaves and bringing it to the house. I mean, I have to say he came around, so I'm not
Well,
going to
how
say that I
was
felt a difference.
okay? But
You,
how was the okay? The heart of that is how was the relationship?
the
See,
relationship,
that's the other side of it. How was the
okay.
relationship?
And I'm not saying that when we were out and about that people didn't stare. Nobody didn't look, and I'm not saying there wasn't times where in the beginning I felt uncomfortable, but I just shook that off because I just felt like, okay,
But
yeah,
see
you're
that
always gonna have that. It
that's a
was
part.
usually older people that
That's
was
a part of
scared.
the difference that we're talking about. See, that's the part of the difference. When I go out and see, that's the part we was talking about. We
Hmm.
know that that plays a part in it. I'm not saying that you shouldn't, but I'm saying is you're gonna feel there's a difference.
Yeah,
There's a
there
difference
was.
because the way things are, way people gonna view it, the way people are looking at me, the way people are gonna make me feel. I don't have to date outside my race. I've dated outside my race. I've never actually dated a white woman per se, but
Okay.
I have dated Spanish people and talked to Spanish people, and
Okay.
it's not well, like I said, it's according how the person look at it and how the person feel. But by the same token, you're gonna feel it because you grew up in a society where that wasn't. Because I think what in 1967 that was the love, and that's when it became official that you could date a white woman or a white man. See, it wasn't
You
official
said it
until then.
became official,
That's
like
in less
it,
than a
it. You
lifetime.
said it became official, like they just you. So that's when people started to accept it more. You're saying,
Interracial marriages have been increasing since 1967 Supreme Court ruling Loving versus Virginia in
okay.
2022. 19% of married opposite sex couples were interracially compared to 31% of the married same sex couples. See?
Mm-hmm.
So, like I said, it's still not an overwhelmingly okay where everybody's accepting of it. That's the point I'm making.
Yeah,
So if
and that is
everybody
true.
still isn't accepting of
Yes,
it,
and I do
you're
see
gonna
different.
that's the
Yeah, where
feeling that you're
people are
gonna have.
not. A lot of people are not. Yeah, and like I said, for me, like that's not my preference anymore. That's just, I grew out of that. My relationship ended bad. So at the end, yes, I realized who I was. But especially when somebody's telling you who you are, and so no, I realized that wasn't for me, but I do not frown upon any. I actually love to see people in love. And if your significant other comes in a different race, then so be it. I really don't see anything wrong. What harm is it causing? Because some people would say, okay, if we keep having interracial relationships, then we are lessening our own race. Like we're not creating all black children or all white children, or so a lot of people have an issue with that.
Uh-huh. But like I said, and well, I can understand that as well. But like I said, just looking at the statistics and looking at life of how, like I said, how these things play out. Again, I don't care who you marry. I don't care what you do in the confines of your bedroom. That ain't none of my business. And like I said, if love finds you there and you're happy, like I said, by all means, do what makes you what feels best to you. I'm not against anybody doing anything, and even in myself, like I said, if it should happen, and I date outside my race, or
Mhm.
better yet, marry outside my race. I mean, like I said, as long as the person is loving and caring and doing the things that I need, well, you'll be fine. But like I said, I'm not gonna, smooth it over and act like, okay, where there ain't a difference. That difference is always gonna be there because we have a history. Like I said, the ruling wasn't overturned to 1967. So that's
Mhm.
just a reality. So you could actually get in serious trouble for dating a white person if you were dating them in 1961. Okay.
Yeah.
So we're not that far removed from it.
I mean, so is there a
So that's
difference?
what we're
Because
saying.
I keep hearing the word difference. Is there a real difference that is going to cause if a man and a woman get together of different races and create a family? He's in the household, she's in the household. They're raising up their children. What what difference is that
I
going
mean,
to
there's
make?
couples that do that. There's
So
couples
yeah,
that do that, but at the
that's
same time, we would you would still have to study the statistics on how often do they stay together, what happens afterwards, and that type of stuff.
does it
That stuff
affect the
right there
children though?
then would tell
Because
the whole
some
thing. Like you
does
saying,
it affect the
you
children?
said I have my nephew. I have a nephew because my younger brother's wife was a white woman. I have a nephew today, and he's a biracial child. Now, with that being said, and understanding all of that, see, how long did you date the man, and how long was you married to the man?
Okay, you're asking me that because I thought you were telling a story about your
Yeah.
nephew. I
Oh
thought
no,
you were
that's what I'm saying. I said my brother married the woman, but see,
okay.
my brother married. He married the woman within the first year of being with the woman because I believe that's something that he wanted in that
Okay.
sense. So, like I
Yeah.
said, so with you now, you being the colored woman or the black woman dating the white
Black
man, how
woman.
long did it take him before he married you?
Okay, so how that went, and like I said, in the end, sometimes you don't know right away, but you know, in the beginning, I don't know, there's an echo. Do you have your phone on? Let me turn this mic off. There's a bad echo.
No, I don't have an echo over here.
Your phone could, okay, because it's annoying.
Yeah, I don't have anything on.
Okay, so in the beginning, there was, I would say we dated for maybe 4 or 5 months before he proposed to me. And with that being said, I was engaged for probably 10 of the 11 years that we were together. It doesn't take that long to walk down the aisle. So yeah, I could say that that person really didn't want me because it doesn't take 10 years to say I do. So, but we did eventually get married, and that was shortly lived. Probably doesn't even count as a marriage because it was so short. And I'm talking
So
within a couple weeks.
why do you think it took so long for him to actually marry you? And see, that's a part of that difference
Because
I'm talking.
he didn't want me. I wasn't the woman that he wanted. I might have been convenient at the time, which I tried to think about that. Okay, what was it that, because it wasn't finessing. He had his own place, I had my own place. So it wasn't like, okay, he moved into my house because he needed a place to stay because he had his own place. So I don't know,
Mhm.
just at the time, maybe I was just I don't know. I really can't answer why because it doesn't take 11 years to say I do. Within the first, even within the first 3 months before he proposed to me, he did propose. So I don't know what for.
Okay, well, like I said, that's what I'm talking about when you feel a difference. See, there is
Yeah,
a difference,
because there
and
was a difference.
I'm not saying this in every case. I'm sure there are couples that have gotten married within the first whatever,
Yeah,
and however, the first
but
3 or 4 months or whatever.
that's a lot of
But
years.
what I'm saying that's what I'm saying. That's over a decade of time of my life, you see, and so that's when I'm more concerned with that side of it and that right there. But I mean, to each his own. Like I said, if you were going to stay in a relationship with a person, see, like I said, you would have to have a propensity for that. The propensity, if I'm enduring this type of thing, I don't see myself being with no woman of any color
Well,
11 years and not getting married
well, see,
within a
I
certain
I
time
wouldn't
frame.
say endure because over time, I mean, I loved him. Okay, I really did, and everything he did showed that he loved me as well. So there was no issue there. Okay,
But
but
let me see. You just
when
said,
I did mention marriage though, and that should have been
hmm
a red flag to me because when he did propose to me and I started to get like, okay, I want to plan the wedding. Okay, let's make a date. It was shut down. It was like, okay, what's the rush? Why are you And just the way he said it to me, I got in my feelings. I was like, wow, I'm all excited. You put a ring on my finger, but in a matter of seconds, you shoot it down. Like, why are you? What's the rush? So I'm like, okay. So
and,
then I never
and
said
that don't
nothing else, and
that
I
that
waited.
that's not a different type of finesse game, because like I just said, if I'm into the person, if I love the woman, and I don't care what color she is, okay? If I'm into the woman and I'm into it all the way, and she's doing the things that I want, and she's the type of woman I want, well, see, that's what I'm saying. We don't tend to hold back. We tend to move forward in that whole thing. But when you sit here and say, well, the person is waiting, okay? And the person, when I mention the word, okay, the person don't want, but the person is engaged to me. See, that's kind of
Yeah.
like conflict in stories. It's like when you just said a few minutes ago, you said, "What we did things that said he loved me." See, I don't look at it as he did things to keep it, but he didn't do things because if I love you, I ain't gonna stay with you 11
I
years
don't know.
and not
It was
marry you.
10. It was
It
10.
don't
Yeah,
take
we
that
were
long.
together for a total 11. But what I did get, which is crazy, I don't know. I guess every time I would think of marriage, I don't know. Every 2 years, I was getting upgraded engagement rings. Yeah, he was giving me upgraded engagement rings. So it kind of kept
But
me like, okay, it's going to
but
happen kind
that's
of thing. So,
but see, I look at that as again, that's only part of the finesse game for me. I don't see the love that you're saying it was. And see, like I'm saying, if I know, okay, basically, if I'm stringing you along, okay, yeah, this is just another piece of a toy or device I'm using to string you along to make you think I'm going this way. Because again, if I'm sitting with you for that long and I still haven't decided to marry you. See, my brother wanted the woman. He
hmm,
married the woman. See, it was no doubt. That's what
yeah.
I'm saying. So when you have that right there, that tells me, and I'm saying not in all cases, because like I said, I know people, I got plenty of friends who are married outside the race, and I understand that part of it, but none of them spent 11 years where you're saying I spent all this time and was given upgraded wedding rings, but no wedding. That's like somebody
Yeah,
giving you
right.
popcorn, but there's never a movie. Okay, we're gonna have some popcorn, but
Yeah.
I ain't got no movie. I'm gonna
But
just keep
see,
giving you this popcorn. Matter of fact, I'm gonna make this
yeah.
better popcorn,
But see,
but
that's
ain't
the
no movie
thing
coming.
with the
Okay.
relationship, though, for me. And, when I think about that, yes, because I really wanted to take that step. And again, a man is in control of a marriage. He put a ring on my finger. So I just felt like, okay,
Yeah,
I'm waiting for
exactly.
that to happen. But he kept the relationship adventurous. There was no issues that way. What I'm saying, our relationship was great other than that, and then it just then it wasn't okay. It was okay until it wasn't okay, and then when it wasn't okay, that's when he actually walked me down the aisle. When it wasn't okay.
But again, of the person, okay, with that person being, and so it sounded like you had a hiccup meaning there was something there in the 11 years. Was it something there that maybe he couldn't get married in 11 years? Or, I
I
mean,
don't
because
know,
that could
but
be
I
a
don't want
thing
to go.
too.
Yeah, I don't want to go too far off topic with the interracial thing. But no, just to sum that up with him, it eventually ended. And then I realized, okay, obviously I was lying to myself because that's somebody who doesn't want you. It doesn't take that long to walk down the aisle, and nobody should be telling you to hush up when you're trying to plan a wedding because I'm supposed to be excited about getting married, but
Wait a minute, he told you to hush up.
I'm supposed to be. I mean, that's who's
But
not. Like,
like,
I
but
wanted to
see, that's
plan
the
everything, and we
but see, that's
eventually
the
did. Like I said, we eventually did get married, and it was over within a blink of
well,
an
that's
eye.
good.
So,
But see,
but yeah,
but that's the whole thing. See, I think, like I said, because of our society, again, the history we have, but we only have that issue with one race of people. I don't think you have it with the other. Although I think everybody has their own, because the majority of people marry within their race. And that's just the reality. So again, as long as we have those things, and that's where we are and what we do, but at the same time, that's going to always be a major issue, and that's going to be a thing that you feel because in our society it wasn't always okay, and we
yeah,
still haven't reached that level where everybody's totally comfortable with that
yeah,
whole mindset. I
yeah.
mean, you're
It's
still approaching it
true.
with a little reluctance. And in the midst of the Travis Hunter thing, they've been talking about that the player from Colorado who was
Yes,
dating outside his
yes,
race. See, so
yes,
in the midst of that and having understanding of all of that, that's where the issue coming in. And like I said, I think on both sides, men, I would say probably of both races, more so because I'm being black and I hear it more so. Do we, they have more of an issue if the black woman is dating the white man, or you're gonna hear
yeah.
where the black woman hates when the black man date
Mm-hmm.
outside the race or date a white woman because a lot of people was upset. Just recently, I forget the football player name who just
He
proposed to his
proposed.
white wife,
He proposed to her
and
on the field.
that
Yes.
got a lot of kickback. But say that's what I'm saying. It got a lot of kickback from people of color. I don't, like I
A
said.
lot of
With that being said,
black women were chiming in about that proposal,
yes, because it was an
and
issue, and that's what I'm saying. That's the
they,
feeling.
if I'm not mistaken, they were together. They knew each other since middle school. Come on, that to me that's love. That's somebody who you knew that person since middle school, and he's a football player. So with that being said, I believe she's not going along for the ride. So who are we to sit back and say, why does she get to have a ring? She deserves it. She's been in his
Oh
corner
no,
since middle school.
we're touching on the differences. We understand if that's what he picked. Like I said,
Yes, that's
if
his
that's his
preference. That's who
preference,
he picked.
we're
So
not we're
then
not going
that should
off
be
of there. But see, we're trying to understand why the women and why the people who were against it had their feelings against it. Because again, that's the issue. The issue ain't never been whether or not the person loved his wife or the wife
hmm
loves him. Okay, like I say, to each his own when it comes to that. But
yeah.
why do people have issues with it? That's another discussion. That discussion is entirely different from the discussion of whether or not she deserved it. Why do
Yeah.
people are up in their feeling? That's what I'm saying. That's the feeling because of years of where we were into today. And then I mean,
So
like I said, it
so
it looks
I
like
just want to
another.
touch on that before you go further with that. So I want to touch on that
Mhm.
just over the years and having conversations over the years and back and forth. And I have friends who date interracially. I grew up in a time where this was a thing and this is still a thing. So what I usually hear, because when I was coming up years ago, what you didn't see, it was very rare. And I'm trying to think, 'cause I'm going back to school. So in my high school years, very seldom would you rarely saw a black girl dating a white boy in high school. But what you did see was black guys dating white girls in high school. And even outside of high school, even in town, when I would see that one guy in town and he would have the white, you would see more black men dating white women. So
Why did you think
when
you
you
saw that
talk
though?
about why black women were up in arms when they saw the football player propose to his white now fiance on the football field, I have to say they feel like they were overlooked. And I can't speak for all of them, but just over the years in conversation, when black women see that and now they see this woman, or not even their relationship, but when you see a nice looking black man and he's dating a white woman and he has everything going for himself or whatever, that's his preference, fine. But a black woman that has that mentality and she's thinking that way, she's looking, okay, well, what was wrong with me? What was wrong with us? You
Uh-huh.
like skipped over
Hmm.
us, and now she has this great house, this the picket fence, the dog, the everything, and it's like, okay, at a time where some people feel like you should be with your own race because now this person that's not of your race, she gets to enjoy all that. It's like you're giving
But
that to the other
you
race.
don't think it's because you don't think nothing has to do with being the pro athlete, and the majority of pro athletes, a good number of pro athletes that marry outside their race. You don't think that had anything to do with
Well,
it?
see, that's why I said not just their situation, because I know I didn't want to go on into because that's a whole nother topic with the athletes and how they date. Because
But see that, but see,
there's a whole thing where
I think that plays a big part in it.
it
That's
plays
what
a
I'm
big
saying.
part in it, but there's a lot of white women that have came out and said that their parents actually would take them to different games and things, getting them ready, like, hey, this is where you're going to meet your husband. He's going to be a pro, or he's, so sometimes people are, hey, I'm getting you ready for your husband. This is where you're going to meet him at. So they're at the games, I've seen talks of that too, where women have said that, so they're right at reach to be seen by these
Mm.
guys. So, but no, that's a whole nother topic when you talk about athletes and their choice of women. I don't know why that is, but again, that's a whole nother
But
story.
I think that, although I believe, like I said, I believe it's a little bit of what you said, and the fact that they feel like they missed out or they were passed over. But I also feel like there's a bigger issue because the majority of athletes that are of color
Yeah.
tend to marry outside their race, and so that
Yeah.
plays a big part in
And
it too. Because,
yes.
like I said, there's stereotype. We didn't touch on a major issue that among our black people were that we were also kind of misrhymed with the whole thing because a lot of people used to say they want to have pretty kids. That was another
Okay. So,
stereotype that
wow.
came along with it, which is a
That's crazy.
reality because, again, this was perpetuated. Because in our society, and if we go back even to the Willie Lynch letters, see, it was perpetuated there. So a lot of our stuff, when it comes to that, as black men, we heard a lot of things. We had to deal with a lot of different things within the confines of that. And I've heard people, mostly women, say this about having pretty kids, and that
Hmm.
became an issue. I don't think, like I said, in our today time, and my sister-in-law at the time told my brother, he said, well, you might not agree with or look at it, but my brother didn't have a problem with it. She said, but when a black man and a white woman get together, they make the best looking kids. Here, my brother is totally now upset with that whole situation because she done said this to him, and he has a black wife. So what do that make his kids? He asked her. See,
Yeah.
because we've
That's
always had
true.
that stereotype, and as long as that, see, that's what I'm saying now. There was always a feeling. So now that becomes an issue among our athletes and among all the other people because that was said for a long time. We were taught that this way. The Willie Lynch letter said you took the black ones and you put them out the field and you mistreat them. The brown ones worked around the house. The light skinned ones worked in the house, and they'll become envious of each other. We still living under that. That's what I'm talking about, that feeling, because we still see it and we still experience it. So that plays a big part in the way we see it as well today. And so a lot
Hmm.
of times I don't, like I say, I don't tell nobody who to date and who you fall in love
Yeah.
with. But
And,
at the
and
same
that's the
time,
thing.
we
That's
have
the
a
thing.
history of that. And that's a big part of who we
And
are because
that's
these
true.
things actually transpired.
But like you said with the kids, I mean that's beyond me crazy that people are, if
No, it's
that is
not
a thing
because
that people are saying, oh, about the kids,
The
like
Willie Lynch letter. That's why it was there because see, if we break it down to understand, I'm saying you put the black ones, the dark skinned ones out there in the field and mistreat them. Who wants to be them? The brown ones, you put them around the house. See, they envious of the ones that's in the house. And it's something that Willie Lynch said would happen, and it would encourage us for over 400 years, and we're still there. So it's not beyond that because see, that's the what we were taught.
yeah.
That's a part of what they were taught in that
Hold on one
process.
second.
So that's where that
Miss
came from.
Michelle, thank you for stopping in and commenting. Yes, there is a lot, there's a whole lot of other reasons for to not like someone. You're right. So yeah, that's true. But what you were saying too, another thing that I wanted to touch on, I can actually remember going through that. It didn't affect me in the boys I was attracted to, but I remember being in high school and I had a crush on. He was a basketball player, you know, nice
Hmm.
looking black boy I was attracted to and everything. And I even had a friend that was, you know, kind of like letting them know, giving them hints like, hey, you know, Shay likes you, whatever. So I'm thinking, okay, this is great. Wow, I think he likes me back, whatever.
Hmm.
And so kind of going back and forth talking, but he could have just told me that I wasn't his preference because there was another girl that was his preference, and it definitely was a white girl. And you know what? I That's your preference. Okay, so I was shocked
Hmm.
because I thought, hey, we were kind of back and forth a little bit, but no, that was his preference to date the white girl. So it was kind of like, okay, just step back, and that happens. That some people
Well,
have some. I've experienced that with some black men where that's
hmm,
their preference. They prefer to date, and sometimes I even felt like I was in relationships where somebody might have been at that time. I just happened to come along, but I think sometimes their preference would have been, you know, a white woman because
well,
some
we
people
got
just light up when
we
they
got two
see.
chats. We got two chats, and Michelle, like Michelle said, 62 is it 1627? It says that being said, LL Cool J and Lenny Kravitz were some of the first men I was attracted to.
Oh,
And
awesome!
everything 49er and post game reaction said a person's character is more important than race.
Yes,
That
yeah,
sounds
I
good.
agree with
That
that a
sounds
hundred
good.
percent.
Hmm.
I know, I
But
agree
see
with
that,
that a
but see
hundred
that,
percent.
but see that where the problem is with that Mister Everything 49er post game. See, there was a man down in Florida who sent a white lady a Christmas card. See, regardless to his person or character. See, that's what the issue is. We grew up with this right here,
But when
and
that
we never.
happened,
It was
that was before what you're seeing today. So you're speaking of something that, yeah, if you would have so much as whistled or anything, somebody was probably coming for you. Okay, but you're
well. See,
living
he
in a
was
time
actually
now. You
before Emmett
just
Till,
mentioned
though.
the year that it was more accepted. It's more accepted now. So,
Hmm.
you know, to bring that up, yes,
Oh
character
no,
is
ain't
key.
nobody.
You're gonna miss
No,
out
because
on
nobody. No,
soulmate.
no, you're not gonna get the same violence with it, but the feeling still surrounds it. You're not gonna get the violence that came with that back then, or the terrorism, however you want to call it,
Okay.
that you would get today, because now that's not here in that sense.
Yeah, you're not
But
gonna
at
get
the
that.
same time, you still gonna have the feeling. The
You
feeling
might
is
have the
gonna
feeling. It
that
could be
feeling
some
is there.
family members. It might be comments. It might be. And I know you brought up the football player who proposed to his girlfriend, and you know, the other football. I forget his name. What is his name? It's been all over. The one where
Cool.
the football player where his
Hmm?
girlfriend keeps posting things. And now she's his fiance.
Oh, you talking about Travis Hunter?
Yes, I know that they've
You
been in
talking
the
about
news
Travis
lately.
Hunter?
They've been in the news, but I also want to bring out, and it's a shame. I wish I could pull it up on the screen. We're gonna have to start doing that. so we can pull up, our little, so everybody else can see. But I remember seeing recently during the holidays, if you remember Eve, she married outside of her race. She was at a table with all her in-laws and her husband, and people were like, "Oh, she looks uncomfortable. Oh, it doesn't look like she wants to be there." And I'm like, she's in a place where all of his family lives, for one, or if they, that's where she, he resided there. She's there now. So yeah, you're gonna probably see the
Hmm.
majority of his family there. And to say that just because she was the only black person at the table, she looked uncomfortable. I'm like, how are we gonna sit there and say that? She's probably happily in love with her husband, but people are gonna see things and they're just gonna assume, oh, that person's uncomfortable. That doesn't mean every person is acting this way, and that doesn't mean every person experiences hate when they're dating outside of their race. You still have ignorant people that are in this world. But that doesn't mean everybody's turning an eye and rolling their eyes when they see an interracial couple walk down the street. I think it's beautiful to
Well,
see people get married, honestly.
well, we're not that. What see what I'm trying not to get away from is the feeling that has, and that's why I'm stressing it. It's not
Now,
that
when you say
anybody
feeling, are you
cares
talking
or
about a
in it.
feeling you have? Are you talking about a feeling you have when you see people of a different race together? Because you've never dated a white woman. So, what feeling are you speaking of? Are you talking about a? So, let me ask you this: how do
Uh,
you feel
when I
when you
first
see a
okay,
black woman with a white man? Let me ask that because I want to
I
know
don't
what you
care.
think. You don't
I
care.
don't care. But what I'm saying to you,
Okay.
if it was me, I've also been around white women and their parents. And I also
Okay.
understand you feel a tension when you come in there. Okay.
Okay.
So that's the thing. I'm saying you're gonna feel it because it's there. It's not like we're gonna act like it's not there.
Yeah, I can agree
And
with that.
like I said,
I can't
when
deny
Tiger
that at all.
Woods,
There is a
when
feeling that
when
that
Tiger
you
Woods got into the when Tiger Woods got into trouble with the whole dating and the cheating and all that stuff, it was a big turn in that whole thing.
okay,
And
but
so
that's a whole
again, we're
different
gonna
thing. Look
feel
what he
that
was doing.
because
All them. Okay, I don't even know
no, but
about
at the
that
same
feeling that was being that he was having plenty of feelings with a bunch of women. That's a whole different story. But
no, I said again because again, he also said in his process when they asked him, remember he was the one saying that he was Asian as well. And then there was a joke by one of the golfers who said they wasn't going to serve any Asian food, and it wouldn't be no collard green and chicken neither.
Well,
See,
see with
that
Tiger
is always
Woods,
going to
I
be that
don't think
tension.
I didn't hear a lot of black women that we kind of looked at it as that's what we already saw what his preference was, so that wasn't a thing. See, I think there's
But
more.
that's what
We're
no,
more
we're not
Black women are
we're
more
not talking
accepting
about
because we
who
see
he.
that more often.
We're not talking about any black women wanting Tiger Woods. What we're saying is the
Yeah.
reaction after the thing hit and how it what was said after the fact. So
Oh
that's what
yeah,
because
that
you
was
keep asking
definitely
me,
something that
you keep
was
you keep
not
asking me
cool.
about the feeling. You keep asking
Hmm.
about the feeling, and that's where the feeling that I'm telling you came from.
And that
Because
came from a
there's
man of
always going to
color,
be a
though.
little bit of racial.
That came from a man of
There, no,
color
there's
saying
always going to
that.
be a little bit of racial tension because the way we were geared and where we was raised and how the society perpetuated. Like I said, when I was a child, I didn't know nothing about it. I didn't know nothing about racism until I think Roots came out. See, I didn't know nothing. I didn't know nothing about nobody hating nobody. I didn't know nothing about anybody enslaving anybody. See, so at this point in time, it wasn't there.
Okay,
But
I have
then
a
when
question.
movies came out and opened your eyes to what was really
Yeah,
going on and what had went on, then you're gonna take a different stand, and then
that's
you
true.
understand things differently.
And then we have someone in the chat that just asked a good question. How do you feel from my soap? Thank you for stopping this. How do you feel when you walk into the store in a dominantly white neighborhood or township? Yeah, there's a feeling. Yeah, there's definitely a feeling. I can
Exactly.
actually
See, and
vouch.
that's their
I can
feeling.
actually attest to that. I was
That's the
before I
feeling. And
moved
it,
to Georgia. My church was predominantly white. There would be some Sundays where I'd be the only black person at my church. And when I first started attending there was a feeling. There was a feeling because, yeah, I was invited by some friends, my family and I. So when we went there, it was like, okay, we had our friends, and eventually that family left the church, and it was like, okay, there would be times where I'd be there, and yeah, it took some getting used to, but yeah, there was a difference. Yeah.
yeah, I'm not saying race relations have gotten better. But like I said, and it's more accepted. We're not discrediting it. But what I'm
Hmm.
saying is that feeling has never left, and it doesn't seem to ever leave because we still got some of the same stuff. And it's not
Yeah.
that you're projecting it. It's not that you want it, but at the same time, you're gonna feel it. It's just something that you
And the
feel.
feeling comes from us, and sometimes, and just as a person who has
When you
experienced
say
it,
us, are you talking about the black people?
I'm pointing to myself. So yes, that's what I'm talking about,
Okay,
black
that's what
people.
I'm saying. Are you
Sometimes
referring to
I
the
feel
black
like
people,
we
being that
create
you?
that in our head. I feel like we create that in our head because I could go into a household, being that when I did date outside of my race, I could go
Mm,
into a household or go to a family function of his or something, and I'm already thinking before I get out the car, okay, wow, I'm already preparing myself for something that might not even be,
mm.
so I'm already having that feeling before I even leave my car, when I might go there and everybody's friendly. Hey, and then I'm looking like, okay, I'm waiting for like it's like the unknown. You're already making it up in your
But
head
see,
that, okay, these people are not going to accept you. And sometimes I was wrong, but then sometimes, yes, I did
But see,
feel
the
uneasy.
reason the reason you had that feeling is because you have a history of that being real. If they didn't have that history, then you couldn't have that feeling. See, once again, I grew up not having because I used to go out. I got plenty of white friends, and I do sound racist saying that, but I have plenty. I grew up with a lot of white boys that I played baseball with. By the
Hmm.
same token, no, I didn't feel it because I had never watched Roots. So there wasn't an issue of it. But when you watched the movie and you understood that slavery actually happened, then it changed the way you looked at life. And that's what we're saying. Because again, up until 1967, you couldn't date a white man or woman. It wasn't legal. So again, that's not that removed. That's what 60 what? That's not even 60 years away. That's
Yeah.
almost 60 years away. See?
Yeah. That's
Now,
not
if you're
that far away.
44 or 45, that's, you see, you're not that far removed from it.
True.
So that's why it was going to always have tension. Maybe in 2075, okay, maybe the tensions might be gone. But right now, we're not that far removed from it because a lot of stuff has happened. So yeah, you're gonna feel that. And like I like what my soap said when he said, "How do you feel when you walk into a store?" When you walk into that store, like I said, even when the thing is, and you go there and they go, "Can I help you?" See, when they're not trying to help anybody else, we're not saying that
Yes.
this is something you
Yes,
feel,
that's
and it's
happened
a
to me
legit
before
feeling.
many times.
You're gonna feel it. So that's real. We're not trying to discredit or put it down, but at the same time, we got to deal with reality. You're
Yes.
gonna feel it, and that's just the bottom line.
Oh, yeah.
And like I said,
Like,
imagine the whole thing with the Emmett Till thing. See, that was what year was that happening? Matter of fact, I'm thinking like like 61. See,
okay.
so that I have a brother that was born in 61. See, so that's why I'm saying it. You're gonna always that tension is there. The tension has always been there for that, but we have a desire for certain things. And like I said, I won't even touch on the thing because where if that's why when you was talking about the black men that dated white women, because for a long time white women was off limits to you.
Well, see, I
So
was
it's
going to
sort of
say
like
that
they
too.
were
Do you
treated
think
with
that they feel
specialness.
like they're touching the forbidden fruit? Because it's one of those things like you can't have it, can't have it. Now it's like, okay, is it one of those things where maybe because honestly, the majority, what just growing up, most of the time I would see the black guys dating the white women. Now it's turned around now. Now you see a lot of black women with white men. And like I said, that doesn't eliminate any other races that people are dating outside of their race. That's just that's usually the race that people are doing the head turns with. I mean, with that, with the black and white. So, do you think black men date the white women more at a higher rate? Maybe because there was a time where things that happened to Emmett Till and things that was happening, it was like the forbidden fruit. You can't even look at her.
But I
You can't
think
even.
no,
Don't even think
I
about
think it's diff. I think that's different today. I think it's due to now because like I say, a lot of black women are more masculine, where the white woman is not taught to be masculine. She's more feminine, and it's not. It's gonna that's gonna play a big part in it too,
it.
because like I said, and I think the football player name was what, Jeremy Reeves, and the wife he was the girl he proposed to, I believe her name was like what was it, Michaela. It was something McKaylee. Well, now it's going to be Reeves, but McKaylee Worley, I believe that was her name. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on it. But that whole thing, the way is aroused. I think, like I said, because our society today, and I'm not saying there are not no feminine black women. I don't
Because
want the
there
black women
is.
coming
I
at
was
me,
going to
but
say it.
I
There
think
is.
there's a big part of it is because, again, I think white women are taught to marry in college, where women are taught to get a degree in college. And so I'm taught to take care of
You're
myself,
touching
where the
on
other
some
person is
stuff.
looking
These are
for a
some
husband.
topics here that, yeah, these are some interesting comments that I would definitely like to dive into that. That's a whole nother conversation when you're talking about the masculine women and the feminine women, and
And hold on,
the
my soap
difference
said,
between, because
I
now
get,
that's getting into a difference
hold that
between.
thought,
Okay.
1 second. We got to chat. It says, I get treated, and it's my soap said, I get treated passive aggressively and get silent treatment. See,
Okay.
that's different.
Yeah.
That's different too.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, my soap. I do
Yes.
appreciate
Thank
that.
you so much for the comments, people in the chat. Thank you. Yeah, that is a difference if you're being treated. Let me read that again. I get treated passive aggressive and get silent treatment. No, that's not good. Yeah, that's not.
But see, like I said, nobody's advocating anything for the racism. I hope we all get together, because at the end of the day, I love God and God love all of us, because He
And
created
that's
us
at the
with that
yes.
mindset.
At
And
the end of the
so
day,
at the end of the day, we still got to touch on real issues and how we got to these issues. And in order to address or fix these issues, we must address the issues. We must look at these things in this way. We can't act like it's not happening. We can't act
yeah,
like it don't happen, and we can't put out there that, okay, these conversations are not real, but they are real. And I think that's we do need it to sit down and have a real dialogue on what's going on. And like I say, we can end it all with that whole thing, but at the same time, because of all the tension and because all the past, all the history that came with it, we have a different perspective on it. So again,
yeah,
that issue has always been. And like I said, some black men look at it like a surprise. Some
that's
black men look at it and say, well, I've achieved. See? So it's according where you
yeah,
are, because this is also a part of it. And a lot of people looked at it that way. And so because
and that's
for
just my thing.
the first
That's
60
my thing.
years, that's all we saw on television. See? So that played a big part in it too. So we got to go with all, because it's all a part of grooming the mind for what we have today, and that's how that works.
Yeah. And see, my thing with that is, and like I said, to each its own, it's just for me, the only issue I had with that, and again, I dated outside of my race, so that's not,
Hmm.
love, love, love. But with me, I just can't understand when people, okay, who are dating outside of their race, but they don't want to date people in their race. Like, they don't even have, that's like, oh no, I don't date black girls, but they're black themselves, or vice versa. And it's like, okay, what? That part I don't understand, because I'm sure you grew up in a household where the people had the same skin color as you in some
But
households, not for
that's
everybody.
but
But for
that
you
will
to
fall
just
into
jump over, like I can
yeah,
see if
but
you met someone at a certain
that's
time,
but
but to say
that
that
will
you won't date
fall
your
under his
own race,
preference.
though,
That will fall
that's
under
the
his
only
or
thing.
her preference. But see
Yeah, but it's
that's
like
their preference.
it's crazy.
I mean,
That's the
like I
only
said,
thing that just
we can't get upset because that's that person's preference.
that's
We
their
use that word
right.
propensity. See,
Yeah,
that's that person preference. That's what that person prefer for
that's
whatever
what they
reason. Like I
prefer.
said, whether I mean, if you saw it on television and that's what you saw, like growing up, I watched Leave It to Beaver. I wanted to have a wife and two kids or two boys and do that type of stuff. See,
Mhm.
as a child, I watched Popeye. I ate spinach because it made him strong
Yes.
because that's what you saw on TV. This is
Mhm.
how this works. So again, so now if I'm seeing this on television, then I might want to emulate it in my real life as well. See,
Yeah.
and that's where we're at. Because like I notice now, they make more disclaimers now for old television shows, but they didn't make
It's a
disclaimers.
shame. It's sad. Yeah. They need to bring them back.
So
Yeah. And they still have them out there. You can still watch them. But yeah, I believe that
no,
that
I'm
does
talking
play
about
a part.
they make disclaimers now if a show was to touch like if you watch All in the Family, Archie said a lot of different things on there that would have been considered racial or
Okay.
racist. Okay, so now they put a disclaimer on it. But back in 1970, there was no disclaimer on it. It was what it was. You watched the show, The Little Rascals. Buckwheat was talking like
Yeah. I
he
definitely
had
watch.
that wasn't. I don't know what that wasn't even Ebonics, but at the same time, there was no disclaimer on that. So
Yes.
these are the realities. So that's what I'm saying. We address realities. I like to look at people, and like I say, as being a child that loves God and have a relationship with God, I love all people, period. But I
Mhm.
can't get over the fact that we do have differences. And when we do those differences are felt. Whether,
They
I mean,
are.
you can grow up with it, you can grow up with it and you can understand it. But yeah, there's going to always be that
Yeah,
difference
and that's the
because of
truth. That's the
our
truth.
past history.
And I'm so glad that my parents with me and my siblings, my family, we never there was never a time that my father would sit there and speak hate for other people to us. Growing up, we didn't grow up to where we looked at people for their color. You know we always
Well,
invited
most.
people. My father spoke to anybody. He didn't care. My father could make a friend in the store. We would go grocery shopping and he'd be talking to someone, some strange, it didn't matter what color they were. And I saw how my father, my parents were, and that's just how I was. When I went to school, I didn't pick a certain friend that I wanted to hang with. I just wanted to play. I didn't Your color didn't matter.
Mhm.
When it came to dating,
But
when it
that's.
came to dating, if the guy approached me,
Mhm.
hey, if the character, like one of the people in the chat said, the character mattered to me. Is this person good? Are they a nice person? That's what mattered to
Mhm.
me. And so yeah, that's where the attraction came. And of course everything else that followed, cute, whatever. But yeah,
But that's the whole thing, though. It's still again when I reiterate that whole thing, it's still the mindset. And see, we as black people have always been more accepting. Because like I said, I remember when my brother had his first son. See, we were more accepting of the child than their parents was. I remember getting a call from the father saying, "I don't believe in a black person and a white woman getting together." See,
okay,
that's
yeah,
reality. That's going to stay. See, that's what I'm saying. I hear you, but we've always accepted. We would never a person as black people because we were never in a power to not
yeah,
accept.
yeah. I
So
believe
again,
that a
and if
hundred.
you're taught, if you're taught that with the Willie Lynch mindset, that was the better people, however you want to cut it, so you wouldn't have a problem with it. It's when that's what I'm trying to get you to understand now. See, but when the young black guy, I forget his name, I have to look up his name. I gotta stop calling him that. The young black guy sent the Christmas card. That's a Christmas card. See,
Mm,
that's what we're saying. See,
yeah,
there was never a point in time where we would go and do anything to them if they sent a card to you. That was never
yeah,
the issue. That's what we're saying. So when you say, okay, you're more accepting of it, you were always more accepting of it. Again, see, it wasn't us that had the problem with it because we were taught that was the better thing at the time. But we got to wrap this show up because we don't went a little
Hold on a
long here.
second,
It's
because
an
I'm
hour.
I'm gonna I'm gonna do due diligence for finding out the name of. Yeah, I definitely want to speak the name. So over. Let me see. I'm gonna find his name out because.
And congratulations to Jeremy Reeves and Michaela Worley. Because I know they look happy as heck, though. I ain't gonna tell you. They look like they're fine with it.
What is his name? You weren't talking about Emmett Till, were you?
No, that wasn't Emmett Till. You
Who?
know, it
So who
wasn't
were you
Emmett
talking about?
Till.
You said he sent a Christmas card, right?
Yep. I think his was in Florida. Emmett Till was like in, I believe, Louisiana.
Oh man, I remember watching that, and his name. I know his name.
Yeah, because I know they used to say he was kind of the forgotten guy, but I believe this incident happened before Emmett Till.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was different.
Yeah, because the boy that you're talking about, it's a shame they won't bring up his name. I know who you're talking about because he was actually drowned, sadly. And
Yeah,
but
and
no,
they ended up bringing his father. They brought his father there because his father worked at a mill.
yes,
I want to say his name was Willie James Howard or something like that. Yeah, I think it was Willie James Howard, but it was in Florida. And I remember him, the mother, he went home to his mother before they
yes.
actually captured him. They captured him at his mother's house, I believe. And they went and picked his father up from the mill and took the father to the spot. And then I believe they bound him and then uh threw him in the river, I believe, and took the father with him so the father couldn't save him. It's a really horrendous, crazy story, but
Oh,
like I
I
said, but
his name. I cannot
that's where
find.
the
I
feelings come
can't
in
find
at.
his name. That's sad, but yeah. But no, that
But
was definitely an interesting topic, and it is, like you said, it's just stuff that we touch on here and there because this is a thing still. And again, my personal views is I don't have any when it comes to people finding love in relationships. If you're making
yeah,
a connection with someone outside of your race, then that's great, good for you. Because and just Luke, I wanted to touch on this real quick. I mean, is there anything biblically that people are basing this off of? Could that be something?
well,
I've
no, I
never
don't.
just sitting in
I,
church, never heard
well,
preaching or anybody saying that there was a thing where we couldn't, you know.
well, I'm sure there's probably some scriptures in the Bible that touch on whether or not you should marry this or marry. There was a time where, and I don't know the history behind it, where they would say, well, you shouldn't marry a certain group of people. But like I
Okay,
said,
yeah.
right.
Hmm.
I would have to get more into it to be more clear on it. But at the same time, there's always been a time where, like I said, even if we went back to what was it? What was his name? Was Esau and Jacob, I believe. The one that ended up marrying one of his cousins. He
Mm.
ended up marrying his cousin, but he had to work 7 years to get the one he wanted. But he married two sisters. The two sisters were the cousin because at that point in time, Christians were marrying Christians to keep the
Okay.
Christianity thing going. They didn't want to marry outside. So, I mean, yeah, you got a lot of different things and different stories that would go hand in hand with it. But like I said, I wish we all could just, get to a place to where we, wherever we all just love each other, like God said we were supposed to. But like I said, but you're always going to have tensions. The tensions are always going to be there. and it seemed they're going to always be there because, like I said, we have a long, long history of it. But like I said, we've come a long way in the process, though. So, but we still
Okay.
have a long, long way to go.
And now I just want to say, because I wanted to say his name, because I didn't want to just not say his name, being that we mentioned him several times. But you were right. His name was Willie James Howard, the
Yeah.
boy
See?
he was drowned for giving the girl at his job a Christmas card. So if you think about that time, and let me just check what year that was. From that time, that was. eh,
I know it was before
So that
Emmett
was
Till.
1944. He was 15. So if you think about that now, and giving a Christmas card to some, or giving a card in general to someone, we've come a long way. Where that, I'm not saying that there's not still people that wouldn't receive that in a, they receive that different ways, but he lost his life over that. So that's why I say, if you think about the things that black men had to go through then, or black boys, or just how the difference things were, there is a difference. And if you think about it now, you can freely give out a card, nobody's gonna. So we've come a long
Yeah.
way, and I think maybe that is
Yeah.
why. I know
And
you wanted to say that it's because black women are masculine, but I think it's almost like that forbidden fruit effect. It's like, okay, don't touch the fruit, don't. Now it's a, they're able to. So yeah, you have a lot of, not saying, but I do see a lot of interracial relationships where the black men are dating. But like I said, now
well, we
you're
had two
seeing a mixture
chats.
of, now black women are now doing that as well. You have black women that are dating the white men as well. So, and to each its own with that, like I said
But
before, love, love, love. That's your preference.
we had two chats, so
Do you?
we're gonna touch those, and we got everything 49er post game said. A lot of times, the white parent accepts the black guy only when he is friend zoned, and my soap says it is more a case of politics.
Mm-hmm. That's
So we
true.
like to thank
Good
all the people in
comments.
the
Good
chat,
comments.
and we like to thank all the people in the chats. It's a
We
very
got one
touchy
more
issue, and
comment.
it
I
was
want.
a tough show.
How does the okay? So we have another one. Let me see. Predominantly white neighborhoods look in the cities compared to black. Okay. So yeah, some good questions. Predominantly white neighborhoods look in your cities compared to black. Yeah. And for me, just over the years, when I think about that, yeah, those are good questions. There is differences. So, I'm not discounting that at all. There's differences. And like you voiced, Luke, there's feelings that we have at different times. We're not that far removed from it. It's more accepted now, and people are more hushed at how they feel, but it's still there.
That's
It's
what I'm
still
saying.
there. Everybody's not
If you
accepting
were
it.
born, if you were born in 1967, see, that's the year that you was given the rights. That's when the law was removed that you could date. And this is not, they didn't say you couldn't date a Puerto Rican or Asian. You could date a white person, meaning a white woman or white man. See, that's
Okay.
why. And see, and because that was particularly stunted in that way, that's why you feel the tension, because there was a time when that wasn't cool. And that's what I'm saying. You're going to feel the
Yeah.
tension because it wasn't, matter of fact, you could go to jail for that. If you ever watched the Loving
Wow.
movie, see, that's part of the reason that was changed. That's why it was toned Loving versus, I believe, Virginia. See, because there was a white man trying to marry a black woman, and he was constantly being in trouble for dating a black woman because it still
Wow.
wasn't cool outside your race. So again, but it was only not
Something.
cool to marry the black woman. See, so that's where the tension came from, and you're going to always feel that tension because we have a history and we're not that far removed from this tension. That's what I was
Hmm.
trying to get across, because we're not that far removed. We're in close proximity. If you were born in 1970, that was 3 years ago, 3 years before that. Okay. See, these
Yeah.
are the realities of it. If you were born in 80, that's only what, 15 years removed from it. See? So
Hmm.
you have to understand these things right here to understand where we are. So yeah, this is why people frowned upon it and they looked at it differently, because some of the older people looked at it because of what went on, and some of them looked at it from other perspectives, like just because it was wrong. But a lot of the older parents looked at it because they were scared, because they knew what would happen if they had done something like that. So
Yeah.
they looked at it like, oh, you better not do that. That's not cool. But that's the
Yeah.
reality. But that's the tension that you feel.
And
And so
some
that's
people
why I was
actually
saying it.
get cut
So
off from their family too. That's a whole nother thing. Some
yeah,
people will
because
actually,
that works, but that worked both ways though.
that
Because
works both
again,
ways. And
there
that's
was
why I
a
said
time
some
when that,
people, some people's family will totally disown them if they cross that line. So yeah, I've seen it happen. Hands, I've seen it. And like I said, I've experienced it, but the father came back around but you know what? I saw friends experience that. I've seen it where if they dated outside of their race, there would be family members that cut them off. So, so it does happen.
yeah, and that's just the way it works. But like I said, we gotta wrap this up. We ran a little long. We would like for you to like, share, subscribe. We need all the love we can get.
Yes, please.
Um, we enjoyed doing the show. This was one of the toughest shows you ever had to talk about, because it touches on issues that are very sensitive in our day and time. So, but like I said, we would like for you to like, subscribe, and share. Um, we would like for you to continue to comment and definitely let us know what you think and how you feel, because it's important to hear your thoughts and your views. Um, but like I said, it was one of the toughest shows because it's a very sensitive area,
It is
and
sensitive.
like I said, because and especially being a black man, it's really sensitive because we look at things a little differently in that aspect. But like I say, you love who you love, and
Yeah,
if you find whatever you find, and wherever you find it, be happy in it. But like I said, I understand the reality of all of it. That's all we're saying is you love who you love. At the end of the day, if that's what you want, by all means, go about and get it. If that's what you want, And like I said, it's all about you. And when it comes to your loving and the relationship you want to have, and the happiness that you choose to have, by all means, do what's best for you. That's what That's what I'm gonna do. At the end of the day. But like I say, you know we're gonna end that right here. Would you like any final words, Shay?
I don't know why the thought, if loving you is wrong, I don't want to be right. So my thing is, who are we to say anything is wrong with somebody loving someone, just to piggyback off of that,
Uh,
love who you love. I mean, just as long as you're doing it the right way, hey, and if that person's happy, then great. And I just want to end it by saying a positive mentality is the destined reality. Your mental health is important. Thank you for those in the chat who tuned in and
who
commented.
participate? We
Appreciate
definitely appreciate that,
you. And before you,
and we
yes,
look
before
forward.
you're exiting, please like and share and subscribe. And thank you for joining us at Luke and Shay's place.
You you have a good evening, and God bless.
All right, take care.